Hospitals are built on order. Every form, every scan, every second is logged, labeled, and accounted for. That's what makes them feel safe, predictable. But what happens when the records themselves start lying? At Saint Augustine Memorial, a hospital with over a century of service, medical records are gospel. If it's written in the system, it happened. That's the rule. Until one night, that rule broke. It started with a routine file review, a broken wrist, a standard intake. Nothing strange, until notes began appearing in the patient's chart that no one had written. Symptoms that didn't match the patient. Reports of hallucinations, strange bruises, whispering voices. And then things started escalating. One woman's file became a doorway, and behind that doorway, something was waiting. This is the story of how digital records turned into a haunting, and how one hospital's most trusted system became a bridge between life, death, and something far worse. My name is Laura Webster. I've worked in medical records for 12 years. It's a job most people forget exists. Quiet, meticulous, buried deep in the background. But in a place like Saint Augustine Memorial, we're the final word. If it's in the system, it happened. If it's not, it didn't. That's the kind of trust we deal with every day. It started quietly, like most real horrors do. Sarah Chen was admitted after a fall. She slipped on her apartment stairs, fractured her wrist, routine injury. I processed her intake myself. Age 34, no serious medical history, no red flags. The next morning I pulled up her file to log a routine follow-up. That's when I noticed it. A single line had been added sometime after midnight. Patient complains of persistent migraines and visual hallucinations. I froze. I knew that wasn't there before. I don't just remember the files, I remember the people. Their faces, their stories, the way they talk. There had been no mention of migraines, no mention of anything neurological, just a broken wrist. I filed a bug report with IT. These things happen, systems burp, glitches occur, but the next night the file changed again. Unexplained bruising on lower back. Patient reports sleep paralysis episodes. And again, this one logged at exactly 3:47 a.m. No staff had accessed the file, no nurse input, no attending physician notes, just the entry sitting there like it had always been. I went back and pulled the audit logs. Nothing. No digital footprint. It was like the file had edited itself. By the end of that week, Sarah's chart had grown into a catalog of nightmares, night terrors, paranoia, the sense of being watched during routine procedures, weight loss, 15 pounds in 3 days. But in person, she was fine, resting quietly. No change in vitals, no behavioral symptoms. She didn't even mention these things when I visited her room. But her file kept updating itself, and each new symptom was worse than the last. One entry said she was seeing figures standing at the foot of her bed. Another claimed her teeth were decaying rapidly. One note, timed at 3:11 a.m. read, patient reports whispering coming from air vents. Claims voices speak in languages she doesn't understand. I started staying late, watching the file, tracking the time. And sure enough, every change came between 3 and 4 a.m. A pattern, a window. Something was using that hour. I told Dr. Harrison, my supervisor. He brushed it off. Too much overtime, not enough sleep. I didn't blame him. If I hadn't seen it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. But this wasn't stress. This wasn't a glitch. So one night, I went to her room. Tablet in hand, Sarah's file open in front of me. It was 3:09 a.m., and the file was still updating. Each step I took down the dim hallway, a new entry appeared. Patient's reflection appears to move independently. Blood samples show unidentified cellular structures. Core body temperature dropping below survivable levels. The fluorescent lights buzzed above me. The hallway smelled like antiseptic and old paper. When I pushed open the door to Sarah's room, she was lying awake, eyes wide, staring at the ceiling. She didn't move when I entered. She didn't look at me, but she spoke. "They're using my file to come through," she said. "Digital records are so much easier than mirrors or Ouija boards." Her voice wasn't her own. It was slower, hollow, like it echoed from somewhere far deeper than her throat. I looked down at the tablet. A new entry was forming. Patient serving as vessel for entity displacement. Previous host, Catherine Murray, deceased 1987, Saint Augustine Memorial. Transfer progress, 89% complete. Catherine Murray, that name hit me like a punch. She'd been a patient here, accidentally given the wrong meds due to a clerical error. Died in room 403. Sarah's room. Catherine had been cremated, but not before filing a lawsuit through her family, a lawsuit that was settled quietly. Internally, the case was chalked up to human error, but the room had been closed off for years after that, reopened only 6 months ago. And now Sarah's identity was unraveling. Her chart, her data, her entire medical self, rewritten. I tried to shut down the file. My tablet froze. Then a new window opened. This time, not Sarah's chart. It was my employee health record. And it was updating. Transfer vessel identified, medical records specialist Laura Webster. My own photo appeared in the corner. I stared at it, my face smiling slightly in that awkward ID pose we all hate. But it started to change. The image began distorting, eyes sinking, mouth narrowing, turning into someone else. Subject experiencing temporal displacement. Cellular degradation at neural level detected. Identity transfer initiating. I staggered back, my breath shallow. I ran. The hallways felt longer than they should have, like I was running through a loop, the kind you see in dreams or nightmares. I reached the records room, but every terminal was active. Files opening themselves. Patients' charts changing in real time. This wasn't limited to Sarah. It had spread. The records system wasn't just corrupted, it was alive. That was 19 days ago. I'm still here, still working in medical records. At least that's what the system says. But when I look in the mirror now, something's different. The face is mine, but older, like a version of me from another time. I checked my employment file. It says I've been at Saint Augustine since 1987. My name is still Laura Webster, but the woman in my photo looks like Catherine Murray. Sarah? She was discharged a week ago. Healthy, happy, no trace of hallucinations or decay. Her file has been wiped clean, just the wrist fracture. No record of any psychological symptoms. But the system doesn't forget, not really. Sometimes when I stay late, I hear whispering coming from the server room. Sometimes I see new entries writing themselves, new patients, new symptoms. One by one, their files are being hollowed out, their histories rewritten. I've started to understand what this is. The hospital records are being used as gateways, not haunted, not cursed, just repurposed. Someone or something has figured out that in a digital age, identity is just data. If you can corrupt a file, you can overwrite a person. You don't need rituals, you don't need pentagrams. All you need is access. And now the entire system is infected. Every clinic, every pharmacy, every server that shares data with Saint Augustine. One network, one giant connected database of human identities. Every time a chart is updated, there's a chance it's not by a doctor. Every time you get a new test result, there's a chance it wasn't ordered for you. Every time your file changes without you knowing. Remember this story, because it's not a glitch, it's a hand reaching through. We trust systems more than we trust people. A doctor might misremember, but a chart, a database, that's supposed to be the truth. Clean, permanent, safe. But what if it isn't? What if the tools we built to protect us have become the very thing that lets something else in? Catherine Murray was a clerical error, a tragic footnote in hospital history. But in death, she found a way back, not through seance or superstition, but through the back door of a database, through corrupted lines of code, through unchecked access at 3 a.m. Today, hospitals all over the country are converting their archives to cloud systems. AI is beginning to assist in patient diagnosis. Files are being shared faster, stored deeper, touched by fewer and fewer human hands. And in those endless chains of information, the spaces in between are growing. That's where they hide. I don't know what they are. Spirits? Data ghosts? Echoes of lives unfinished? Maybe it doesn't matter. What matters is this. Once your file starts to change, it's already too late. Sarah Chen was the beginning. I was the next. And you? You've probably already logged into your patient portal. Checked your results. Maybe you noticed something strange. A symptom you don't remember reporting. A test you don't recall taking. A doctor you've never met. You shrugged it off. A mistake. A harmless glitch. But it wasn't. So check again. Tonight, when the clock strikes 3 a.m., and if a new entry appears, one that feels a little too detailed, a little too personal, you'll know it's your turn now. If you like this story, subscribe to Spine-Chilling Tales for more real-world horrors, digital mysteries, and the stories that hide in plain sight. We'll see you in your records.